Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We'll now get started. Apologies for the slight delay in our schedule. I'm Adam Rogers, the Assistant Director and Regional Representative for the UN Office in Europe for the UN Office for South-South Cooperation, and also the Coordinator of the World Alliance of Cities Against Poverty. I'll be your Master of Ceremonies this morning. I would like to emphasize also to all of you and to the speakers that we have our rapporteurs and our note takers, and as with all the sessions over this week, copious and detailed notes are being taken, and the knowledge that is shared is feeding into the knowledge transfer and knowledge base at the UN Office for South-South Cooperation. So even though the attendance you see within the room and the knowledge we're sharing with all of you, it is also being taken, shared through our website, and then transferred and shared with people around the world, including our staff at the UN Office for South-South Cooperation. This session here is preceding the high-level closing and award ceremony, which will take place immediately after this session. This session that we're starting now is called the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development. We have with us ministers, UN focal points, municipal and city leaders, CEOs, investors, and I would like just to introduce them all to you here. You can see their names on the placards in front, but they don't tell you exactly who they are and who they'll be speaking. So from the far left, we have Her Excellency Helen Hai. She's a UNIDO Goodwill Ambassador and CEO of Made in Africa Initiative. And if you visit her website, just Google her name, you'll see just her company and the shoes that they share, and just as an entrepreneur, very successful. On the far left, Ms. Her Excellency Helen Hai. Seated next, we have Ms. Ting Shi, CEO and founder of Click Medics. We have James Donovan, the CEO of ADEC Group of Companies. You may have seen their pavilion, their displays out here in the hallway. And if you haven't, I encourage you to stop by after this session. Mr. Jean-Louis Sarbib, the CEO of Development Gateway. Also, developmentgateway.org initiative started by the World Bank many years ago to make it easy to find out, and the transparency, which money is being invested where in development initiatives around the world, and the partners that are involved. Mr. Mahir Ramesh Bhatt, the Director of All India Disaster Management Institute. We have Dr. Ovind Adland, Secretary General of the Strom Foundation, Norway. Mr. Yiping Zhu, the Envoy of the UN Secretary General for South-South Cooperation, and also the Director of the UN Office for South-South Cooperation. His Excellency Anisi Chamsidine, the Governor of the Autonomous Island of Unzuwani and Juan of the Union of Comoros. We have Mr. Julio Andrade Ruiz, the Deputy Mayor from the city of Malaga. And not just Deputy Mayor, like many cities in Europe, he also oversees a large portfolio of the city. Does often beyond just representing the mayor, he's the head of security and tourism and many other departments. Mr. Henri Domel, the Director for Inclusive Finance Practice Area, the United Nations Capital Development Fund. And Ms. Dorothy Davis somewhere is on her way in. She'll speak also later on in the session. She's the chair of the International Board of Directors of the Sirleaf Market Women's Fund. So I'll come back to introduce Mr. Yiping Zhu in the middle, who will now be the moderator for this session. Please join me in welcoming our panelists today.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Adam Rogers, for your introduction, and that saves a lot of our time. So I'm not going to introduce each of the panelists, since I think you also have the bio of each of them. And let me first welcome all of you and invite all of you to give a warm welcome to our distinguished panelists at the high table. And thank you so much, everyone. I'm not going to mention any of you, but thank you so much. And this is truly a very diverse and assertive, strong leadership assemble at the table from all of you. And I've been working with you. I've been hearing your success stories over the years, and especially during this Expo. Let me start by making 3 points why this session, how important it is this session, what we expect out of this session. We are having this conversation in at a time when the whole international community, especially the UN system and member states, are working day and night to try to shape up a post-2015 Sustainable Development Agenda. And by end of this year, the Secretary General would have a synthesis report on what he believes that the member states would want the UN to put in place a broad outline of the post-2015 agenda. And by next September, that Globe News SDG agenda from 2015 to 2030 will be adopted by the member states of the UN. And so this is the context in which we're having this session. Now, one of the most important elements of this new agenda is how can we implement once we put the agenda in the place. So we're ahead of the game, try to show to the international community that yes, the Sustainable Development Agenda is important, it is emerging, but if we don't have the right partnership strategy in place, probably that the agenda may not even be implemented. So we are focusing on partnership. But then partnership can also be all kinds of forms, and people say that's not new. We have PPP, all of that. So today, the session wanted to show is that we need three basic elements to make the new partnership work. One is the leadership. Leadership is not about political leadership. Leadership we need from the business leadership, civil society leadership, municipal leadership, and even individual citizen leadership. So we want to see that the new partnership would actually work if the leadership at all levels is there. The second is that we need the right sort of tools, instruments, mechanisms in place for the partners to engage and to meaningfully contribute to each other and leverage each other's strength. And the third is how a mechanism that can actually measure the mutual responsibility, accountability, so the results can be not only be produced, but also measured and attributed to whoever is contributing to that results. So we try to look at from these three angles of a new global partnership framework or strategy, and I hope that after this session that we'll be able to have a little bit clearer answers to these three levels of issues. So without further ado, let me first say that this session would have three segments. I think after the opening, we would have a segment that is going to focus on the importance of scaling up partnership, but what is important is that the first segment would also demonstrate, when I said leadership, how leadership is exercised at different levels in the new form of partnership. And the second segment would focus more on the what kind of instruments that we have, and the partners, the presenters will bring out different mechanisms, different ways of doing the partnership. And we also have one segment that is to show concretely that what the UN office has in place for the partners to work, and that's the South Gate platform team is going to present. So I think these are three sort of segments which hopefully by the end we will answer the three questions which I posed at the beginning. So let me first start the first session, I think, segment, and I'm now having really the honor to invite His Excellency Mr. Anisi Chamsidian, who is the governor of Mzwani Anjouan from the Union of the Comoros. And Governor, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Directeur. Monsieur le Directeur du Bureau de la coopération Sud-Sud des Nations Unies, honorables participants, Mesdames, Messieurs, je voudrais tout d'abord adresser mes vifs remerciements au Bureau de la coopération sud-sud des Nations Unies pour nous avoir invités à prendre part à cette rencontre. Nous remercions également l'Organisation des États américains pour nous avoir ouvert les portes de son siège. Et c'est avec un grand intérêt que j'ai voulu prendre part à cette table ronde. Mon intervention consiste à vous livrer un témoignage que, dans le cadre de la coopération sud-sud, les pays en développement peuvent se soutenir mutuellement dans leur quête du développement durable. En effet, depuis mon investiture au gouvernorat de l'île autonome d'Anjouan, en Union des Comores, en mai 2011, j'ai placé la coopération décentralisée et l'implication des acteurs du secteur privé et de la société civile au cœur de l'action de mon exécutif. Aux Comores, nombreux sont les programmes et projets de développement communautaire que nous pouvions exposer ici pour mettre en évidence les bienfaits de la coopération internationale sud-sud et nord-sud. Mais en ce qui nous concerne, nous évoquerons les programmes de coopération décentralisée qui relèvent de notre compétence institutionnelle en tant qu'entité insulaire autonome. Permettez-moi donc de citer 4 principales initiatives qui illustrent la dynamique de coopération internationale sud-sud et nord-sud que nous avons engagée en juin depuis 3 ans. Un accord de partenariat avec les régions de la République unie de Tanzanie, axé principalement dans la formation supérieure. Un accord de coopération avec la préfecture de Salé au Maroc, dans le domaine de la gestion et de l'administration communale. Un accord de coopération régionale avec le Conseil général de l'île de la Réunion dans l'océan Indien, dans des domaines tels que l'agriculture, l'éducation, la gestion des catastrophes naturelles. Et un accord avec la municipalité de la ville du Mans et de l'Université du Maine en France, qui nous a permis de réussir la première phase de l'élaboration du schéma directeur de l'aménagement du territoire de l'île d'Anjouan. Ainsi, vous pouvez aisément comprendre pourquoi je suis prêt à parcourir le monde entier pour convaincre celles et ceux qui ont la compétence et l'expertise dont nous avons besoin à Anjouan à nous accompagner dans notre marche vers un développement économiquement soutenable, socialement équitable et respectueux de l'environnement. Je suis en effet convaincu que c'est en élargissant et en renforçant la coopération internationale sud-sud, nord-sud et triangulaire avec les agences de développement, la société civile et les partenaires privés que nous garantirons le succès des initiatives de développement dans les pays du Sud, les petits États insulaires en développement en particulier. En unissant nos forces dans ce cadre de la coopération sud-sud, nous gagnerons certainement le combat contre la pauvreté multidimensionnelle et nous relèverons le défi du développement durable dans nos pays et territoires respectifs. Mais vous conviendrez avec moi que cette coopération internationale que nous appelons de tous nos voeux ne souffre aujourd'hui que de notre volonté politique à impliquer l'ensemble des acteurs socio-économiques et de la société civile et à renforcer le partenariat public-privé dans la prise de décision des choix stratégiques de la gouvernance publique. C'est pourquoi j'ai décidé de mettre en place un comité local pour le développement durable en juin. Cet organe regroupe l'ensemble des acteurs insulaires, politiques, économiques, sociaux et la société civile en vue de mener ensemble des réflexions sur les choix et les décisions socio-économiques et politiques que nous devons prendre pour soutenir un développement durable de l'île autonome d'Anjouan. En conséquence, le comité anjouanais pour le développement durable a été mis en place en mai 2014 dans le cadre du programme Inspired Generation de la Fondation des jeunes pour le développement durable, avec le soutien effectif financier et technique de la Commission de l'océan Indien à travers son projet Island. Permettez-moi alors de saisir cette opportunité pour adresser mes vifs remerciements et ma profonde gratitude à la Commission de l'océan Indien pour toutes les facilités qu'elle a mises à notre disposition afin de nous permettre d'effectuer ce déplacement et partager avec vous ce moment important. Mesdames et messieurs, pour relever le défi de la coopération sud-sud, nord-sud et triangulaire, nous avons besoin d'outils qui offrent la possibilité de saisir des opportunités au niveau mondial. Nous sommes convaincus que la plateforme SSC Gate, hébergée par le Bureau des Nations Unies pour la coopération sud-sud, est l'un des instruments les plus appropriés et efficaces. Cet outil a déjà su apporter des solutions pertinentes de transfert de technologies et d'actifs dans des pays en développement. C'est pourquoi nous soutenons l'initiative du Bureau des Nations Unies pour la coopération sud-sud dans la mise en place d'un dispositif global de transfert de technologies sud-sud. Je voudrais ainsi saisir cette opportunité pour inviter l'ensemble des partenaires et bailleurs de fonds ici présents à nous accompagner dans les secteurs stratégiques et prioritaires de notre plan de développement local: l'énergie, l'eau et l'assainissement, les infrastructures et l'agroalimentaire. Nous avons également besoin de vous pour nous assister et nous aider à relever, entre autres, les défis de la gestion des déchets, des catastrophes naturelles et de la formation professionnelle. Enfin, nous sommes disposés à partager avec vous notre modeste expérience de l'implication des parties prenantes dans la prise de décision pour le développement durable de nos territoires. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Governor, for sharing with your very successful story, also with the facilitation and partnership with the SS Gate initiative. What I'm hearing is that, what I believe is the important message you are giving us is that that leadership doesn't have to come from, capitals of the major centers of capitals or whatever. As an elected official, your leadership of your community and in bringing all different partners, not only within your own region, country, but also other parts, including the UN, is so important. And because otherwise, without that kind of leadership, I don't think anything will actually get moving. And I really wish that your story can be much widely shared. I would now have the honor to invite Deputy Mayor of Malaga, Mr. Julia Andre Roots, to share his story.
Thank you. United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, Director, panelists, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure. Why do we cooperate? How cities can help each other? For many years, we have been building strong city relations: north-north, north-south, north-south-south. Multilateral relations work better. Adam Kaplan, Vice President, Sister Cities International, said yesterday, Sister Cities is like marrying institutions. We are talking about leadership. City leaders are willing to involve other political leaders. City diplomacy works hard to transform. Cooperation is transformation. We engage ourselves to learn together from each other, north and south. To achieve our goals, we need partnership, public and private, and not-profit organization expertise, and we find it networking and innovating. The City Council of Malaga has a long cooperation tradition and experience, more than 20 years working to reduce poverty, with a 0.7% of the local budget, achieved 709 projects in 60 different countries with an amount of more than 20 million euros. We have been using information and communication technologies to improve lives, developing useful tools to achieve the Millennium Development Goals, instruments with which to advance the cause of freedom and democracy, vehicles with which to propagate knowledge and mutual understanding, new technologies for numerous programs of development cooperation in Morocco, Lebanon, Cameroon, or Mauritania. Our city was a founder member of the Global Digital Solidarity Fund, and we held the first summit of Mediterranean towns and local authorities in collaboration with UNDP in 2008. We believe we could create areas of synergy among cities and companies willing to collaborate in the development of projects that contribute to solutions that bridge the digital gap between the connected and the unconnected. The participants joined the Declaration of Malaga with the commitment to create a common area to reduce the digital divide in the Mediterranean basin, move towards digital solidarity and cooperation, social responsibility and sustainable development, local administration and cooperation, among other aspects. The local Secretariat of the Mediterranean Digital Area was opened in Malaga. Malaga was appointed thematic area for information and communication technologies in the World Alliance of Cities Against Poverty and member of the steering committee, and has thus established a global benchmark in the field of new tech and their use in cooperation in developing countries. Since 2009 and managed by UNDP Geneva office, EasyMed, the Information Society Initiative for the Med, as a part of the Hub for Innovative Partnership, is being implemented to address local economy development, modernization of public services, and improvement of strategic planning capacity, and the empowerment and employment of youth. I'll give you some examples. In the mission to Lebanon, the technician from Malaga, accompanied by the head of UNDP, traveled to the north to support a project to map out the streets of the city of Tripoli. We supervised the implementation of a support application, GIS system, for the management of the street map, which would work as a reference of the rest of local information systems. One established the project Scale Up to cover other cities across Lebanon in similar situations. Concerning Morocco, our city managing European and city funds has a long-standing tradition of cooperation with its neighbor country, more specifically in the northern cities of the Maghreb. During 2010, many missions were carried out within the context of the EasyMed program. Initially, the Moroccan cities of Shawan and Uja. Several projects were implemented: management, human resources, registration and follow-up of files, and a computing cell to coordinate the ICT project. In Kedira, Mauritania, and Yaoundé, Cameroon, recently, in addition to all mentioned, we also computerized all the local simple procedure. All the projects are scaled up in other cities of these countries by national governments, universities, the World Bank, and other actors. Also now, we have a new partnership with a private company, Aerum, and the University of Malaga. Surveyron project is going to prevent and manage natural disasters among the cities. This is the dimension of the triangular cooperation north-south-south. WACAP is the future, so now we all need to clarify the relationship between us, establish each one a role. We need to find cities ready for a real compromise with the alliance. A strong leadership is important. Internationalization is the way to be more effective. We will continue sharing cooperation strategies and good practices. There is a lot to be done. Let's do it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Roots, for sharing your experience of building a city-level and city-to-city partnership, especially the PPP model. I think is very, very fascinating. And I know that you have been contributing to the work of the World Alliance of Cities Against Poverty, which has 900 cities, mayors, and I'm really very impressed by your leadership as a major driver of that alliance for our work, and I do look forward to continuing working with you, Your Excellency. I now have the honor to invite my colleague from the United Nations Capital Development Fund, Mr. Henry Domel, who is the Director for Inclusive Finance Practice. Okay, so Henry, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have prepared a short PowerPoint to support our discussion, so it will need to come up. But first, I'm going to talk about 3 examples of initiatives promoted by UNCDF in the area of financial inclusion, which I think demonstrate which have built on a strong South-South partnership and cooperation agenda, which has also created platform for mutual learning and sharing of results, and which are offering a promising prospect of scalability. I wanted first by saying that we have realized that financial inclusion is becoming a more and more important agenda for a lot of developing countries. And as we speak, 2.5 billion people in developing countries are still excluded from accessing financial services that we take for granted. And here we don't talk only about credit. I mean, we talk more importantly about basic savings accounts, ability for people to accumulate financial assets through safe savings account. We talk about remittances, payments. We talk about insurance. And we realize that financial inclusion is a key policy to support economic growth. Otherwise, growth leads to more inequality, and it is becoming a central piece of a lot of policies. So briefly about these three initiatives. The first one is making access possible. We have realized that countries need to support their financial inclusion strategy. They need diagnostic tool and programmatic framework. Very often they don't have the data on access, demand, supply regulation, which really can support their agenda. So MAP is a diagnostic tool and a programmatic framework which is enabling governments to lead the financial inclusion strategy. The characteristic of MAP is that it puts a strong focus on getting stronger, better data on demand and access, which has been missing in a lot of countries. And it's also link that data analysis to a review of the supply and regulatory landscape to really help countries understand what is driving financial inclusion and how to shape the strategies. It has become also, it is offering a powerful platform for South-South cooperation. 3 weeks ago, UNCDF was in Myanmar when the government of Myanmar organized an ASEAN conference on financial inclusion and used that conference to present the results of the MAP diagnostic in their own country and how it has helped them to shape the roadmap, the national roadmap in Myanmar for financial inclusion. And what's interesting is that it has created a lot of dialogue among ASEAN countries, and right now we are also starting the MAP diagnostic process in Cambodia, in Laos, and it was also done in Thailand. So a lot of South-South cooperation. It has also offered interesting platform to better help coordinate donor supports for those financial inclusion strategies. And then finally, it is proving to be a strong enabler to grow the markets. When you give to private sector actors in those countries, insurance company, bank, money transfer operators, good data on demand, access, usage of the financial services, and good analysis of the kind of regulatory issues that need to be addressed. It really opens the eyes for a lot of opportunities. So MAP is crowding a lot of investment from domestic players for impact investment in those countries. So we have concluded MAP in 4 countries so far. We are planning to take it to another 20 countries, LDCs countries mostly, in the next 5 years. And it is going to lead to a lot of South-South dialogue around financial inclusion. Then I would like to go to a second innovation, which is very different but illustrates the same principle of South-South cooperation. And that initiative is called MacroLead. Under MacroLead, UNCDF has decided to partner with strong market leaders, financial service providers from the South, and to give them through smart grant, performance-based grant, or concessional lending, the incentive to develop their operation in LDCs. So how you bring market leaders, very strong financial service provider from the South, to expand their operation in least developed countries, which are more risky. And the interesting story around that initiative is a leverage. UNCDF used $5 million of its own resources, then raised $20 million from the Gates Foundation, and issued a request for application to select the best business plans, the best offers of these financial service providers from the South. We selected about 10 of them. Collectively, they brought about $100 million of their own equity to expand their operation. And when you look at the combined balance sheets of these new operations in LDCs, you can see that collectively they are showing about $400 million of outstanding saving balances and almost the same in loan outstanding. So the story here is that it has basically a triple impact. First, it was a South-South transfer of expertise from those market leaders to LDCs. Secondly, it was a transfer of resources in terms of their own equity being invested in LDCs. And third, it was a very strong driver of domestic resource mobilization by the savings mobilization drive. So again, I think a powerful example of South-South cooperation where CDF has played the role of a catalyst. And I realize I have 1 more minute to walk you through the third example that I wanted to mention, which is about the youth economic empowerment. So here, what we decided to do is to work with strong financial service provider, microfinance institution in sub-Saharan Africa to basically show the business case and the feasibility of developing financial services for youth, and especially savings, but also, appropriate lending for, young adults and people starting, economic activities as they become young adults. So the result here you can see, collectively through this program, we have opened about 360,000 savings accounts, mobilized 10 million in savings, granted almost 6 million in loans to youth entrepreneurs through product like microleasing, for example, and train about almost 400,000 young people in financial literacy. So I think what was interesting here is the peer learning and dialogue among those players and those financial service providers around their experience on youth financial services. It's also focused a lot on how to help them to do market research, how to prove the business case, the feasibility of what are basically very low balances, small savings account for young people, enabling them to accumulate access, how to make it economically feasible for those institutions, and how to help governments to look at the key regulatory constraints which so far had impeded young people to open savings accounts. So it has been very encouraging to see those results and basically moving the needles in terms of feasibility of including youth with savings account. And we all know that the youth, it is a key element to reap the youth dividend and enabling young people to accumulate assets and skills as they enter later into adulthood. And right now we are planning to scale up that intervention to take it in more countries, but also to link it more closely to the broader agenda of youth economic empowerment in terms of job creation, entrepreneurships, apprenticeships, and we are planning to expand that program in cooperation with other UN agencies who have a very strong track record in those areas, including UNDP, ILO, and others. So again, we bring the financial sector dimension to those agenda around youth economic empowerment, and that's again going to be a very strong platform of scalability and exchange and peer learning among countries and among financial service providers on that agenda. And I think I have exhausted my time, so thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Henry, for giving us such a wonderful success story from a UN perspective, and your organization is a very special organization, which when we talked about the financing, innovative financing or inclusive financing, we always talked about the private sector, but a UN organization can also indeed promote innovative financing. So I think your story closes the first segment of the presentation and try to show that leadership is key in making a partnership work. And so I think from the three presentations, we clearly see the leadership from government officials, political leadership is key. Municipal leadership is very, very important, not only to get the PPP schemes work, but also outreach as larger network cities as possible. And then the innovative financing, inclusive financing, to leverage each other's strength and capacities to deliver more than one party can deliver, as showcased by our CDF colleague. So I think with these three very concrete but diverse cases, I would now open the floor for about 8 minutes to Q&A, if anybody has specific question for the three panelists, and then we will move to the second segment seamlessly to tell more about the civil society organizations' partner strategy and the successes. Who would like to taste the crab first? Okay, so it seems that we have a very convincing presentation. I think if at the you can, I still give you the right to reserve your question towards the end. And of course, our panelists will come in to share more perspectives. Now I am really, after hearing from the leaders of the public sector that has championed the different forms of leadership partnership strategy, I now would like to shift to hear our civil society, our NGO, global, national, regional NGOs who have truly indeed now worked so many years on all fronts to show that a partnership will not work without civil society. And to start with, I'm very happy to have my dear friend next to me, Ovind Atland, the Secretary General of Stormy Foundation, to share his part of the story. Ovind, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. UN OSSC Director, colleagues in partnership development, and distinguished audience. I have noticed with great appreciation and inspiration that there is definitely a paradigm shift in South-South triangular cooperation. And I would really like to acknowledge and credit the UN system, in particular the UN OSSC Director, for this change in the paradigm. This is really a very good start as we now proceed the post-2015 SDGs. However, I am talking from the perspective of a civil society organization and the NGO perspective. And I'm fully aware of the fact that no partnership development or a change fighting injustice will work without a mutual cooperation between policymakers and society community. This kind of development has to go mutually, and I have the greatest respect of what is done on the structural top level. However, I am asking myself, from the perspective of the NGOs and the civil society, where are we at in this real South-to-South partnership development? To be a little provocative, I think that we might have left some of the attitudinal stand from the past when we had the donor-recipient syndrome, and now we are talking about partnership. However, sometimes I think our partnership is actually we using our partners to implement our ideas. So there is a need also for a thorough paradigm shift within the community of civil society and NGOs. In Stromer Foundation, we use a metaphor of the ladder, and we are very concerned that the ladder is made in Bangladesh, made in Nepal, made in Mali. And I think that we in the SDG programming have to pay much more attention to the constituency in where we work and create an ownership, a real ownership, and break the silence from bottom up, because poor people have aspirations, visions, and I'm sure they also have a lot of solutions. But I'm talking from the perspective of the NGO in particular, we have to make haste a little bit more slowly to grasp the questions and in cooperation and mutual respect bring the solutions. Therefore, a key word is capacity building, enablement, and that means empowerment. It's extremely important that we take this seriously. Therefore, I think that we should take into account a proverb of the Maasai group in East Africa: make haste slowly. That means that we are so concerned, and with all respect to collecting data, we should probably not be that numeric focused. And the partnership in itself is an important process, because if we are to build sustainable development, we have to equip, develop leaders, exchange innovations, so that that will function independent of us, even though we have to honor mutual cooperation. And one of the strongest experiences I've seen in this work is when we have the South-to-South exchange. Sometimes we hit the chord in a project, and when you hit the chord and you are successful, it starts almost like a movement. That movement, if that can be exported from South to South, we have had some very successful stories. We never introduced, but a program was made in Bangladesh called Shonglap, which was building self-esteem in young girls and released girl power. This is transferred to Nepal and even exported to East Africa. And I felt so proud when I saw my Bangladesh colleagues instructing and doing a great input in a village in northern Uganda. So I think that we have to decentralize our structure, make sure we have a participatory approach, make sure that we are enabling, developing leadership, and capacity building is very, very important. And I'm optimistic with the change on the top structure, with the bottom-up mutual involvement, I think we will go a long way. But as a last note, I think we also in the NGO sector, in the civil society sector, have to be much better on relating to local government structures and make sure we work together, because that is a very important asset in sustainability. So I also call upon the local government structures to find their way together with the civic society, and let's face it, the INGOs shall have a catalytic role and try to withdraw as much as possible. But I'm optimistic, and I'm very pleased to be part of this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ovind. As always, I think not only it is not really provocative in a sense that that you are challenging any sort of new ways of thinking, whatever. You are actually giving us already the answer. So you're not provoking the question, you are giving us an answer. The answer is that we need to basically engage and also ensure the ownership of the local. And this whole idea of having your partnership, having your initiative rooted in the local community and let people connect each other and withdraw the high party at the top of the ladder, if they withdraw further and let the people run the whole business, and we as NGO or government or UN should only come in to facilitate. And I think that kind of partnership is what we are looking for. And keep on an excellent job that your organization is doing. Now I am honored to invite my longtime friend, Mr. Mia Bhatt, I call him Bhatt, Director of the All Indian Disaster Management Institute, who is running a huge network of also, again, community-based disaster communities that are helping responding to many of the climate unpredictabilities in the last few years. So please, Bart, yeah, you have the floor.
Thank you. Disasters rob the results of development. They push poor people back to poverty. But disasters also offer opportunity to remove poverty, move towards sustainable development, and contribute to shared prosperity. Who would know the most about development than a person who's actually gone through that process, if given a chance for him to articulate that? Who would know the most about disasters than a person who's actually survived and has recovered? Similarly, if we apply same to the countries, it is in the countries in the South who've gone through the most difficult part of development and most difficult and repeated disasters that they have faced. And it is odd that somehow they not enough talk to each other, leave aside, learn from each other. One of the most effective ways to protect development, sustainable development, and accelerate it, is through South-South cooperation, therefore, triangular cooperation. And I say this from All India Disaster Mitigation Institute's work on the ground as UN Center for Excellence for South-South Cooperation in running citizens-based community academies. Above mentioned impact and opportunity both are most evident at the local level, as my colleague already pointed out, especially in the global South. The poor and communities do not ask for relief, money, but ask for opportunity to have income, asset, technology, information. They want to see how somebody else has done it so that they can do it themselves. And that is something these local academies actually offer, that how a community leader who has gone through the struggle of recovering from a tsunami has to offer to another community leader or a local authority leader in a municipal corporation, that how to recover from tsunami, or maybe it is drought, or maybe it is flood. They come together in these academies in the field where this recovery or rehabilitation is actually taking place in numbers and try to see what is happening from their own eyes, with their own experience, but also from the eyes of those whom they are visiting and from their experience as well. As a result, what they achieve is multiple perspectives on how a particular recovery takes place, how a particular development result is protected by preparedness and prevention. The impact of such academies, done 7 so far and more than 8 waiting, a quick review shows that 36% have revised their action in terms of their ongoing work to include what they have seen on the ground in other countries, in other people's eyes. And 60% of the participants have included South-South, either experts or ideas or information in their work, especially to take cash transfer in a relief situation from one country to another, or, for example, right to information of disaster victims, or, for example, microinsurance for small and medium enterprise. The demand for such academy is great from the Asia-Pacific region, of course, also from Indian Ocean region, and from the Middle East, and Africa and Latin America. Growth areas in these academies are the following, with which I'll sum up. One is the infrastructure and recovery or how to make infrastructure development protected from disaster impacts. Second is urban resilience, our mayor has already pointed out. Third is small and medium enterprise and use of insurance for their protection. And fourth area is water harvesting. Let me sum up by saying that these academies make the results of citizens' leadership to reduce risk and build resilience, their own initiatives, faster, better, and more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ba, and thank you, Director, for giving us another very, very important attribution element of effective partnership, that is citizen leadership. And I think at the beginning I was not quite sure when I said we also, we need a political leadership, business leadership, and we need a citizen leadership. I was not really too, I was still talking in a very abstract sense. But now, after hearing what you're saying, is that citizen leadership actually is delivering, driving the whole initiative forward. Those are the actors, those are the players, those are the movers. And so I really, really thank you so very much for highlighting the citizen leadership element of a new partnership paradigm. Thank you so very much. I now have the honor to invite my colleague, Jean-Louis Sabib, who is the CEO of the Development Gateway. As you know, Development Gateway, that does not need any introduction. It is the largest actually knowledge hub, global hub that empowers practitioners, governments, and citizens with knowledge. So it's a knowledge conveyor, which is developed by the World Bank, and now it is really serving beyond the bank's clients. Jean-Louis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to be here today to share with you the way in which Development Gateway is trying to contribute to the South-South agenda that is emerging strongly after Busan. As the chair just said, Development Gateway was created to share information and knowledge on development activities with three major objectives. The first one is really to provide for more informed leadership. The second is to move development towards evidence-based decision-making and to permit thus far the creation of partnerships. And finally, this information and this knowledge is very important for one of the key Busan objectives, which is mutual accountability. So how do we do this? We try to do this in three different ways. First, at the global level, together with two American universities, the College of William and Mary and Brigham Young University, we have created what is probably the largest repository of development activities. And again, we have not done this alone. We've done this in partnership with the OECD DAC, but also we have gone beyond OECD DAC, and we are beginning to track, to the extent that it is possible, the activities of non-traditional donors, the emerging donors, South-South cooperation, and we do this in a way that is providing a lot of information to anybody who needs it, journalists, academics, citizens, and we're trying to publish this information in a way that is easy to understand by putting it on maps. And we're trying to gather that information at the lowest possible administrative level. The second way in which we've been trying to respond to the challenges of more transparent information is by building country systems. You remember that in Accra, one of the big mottos was we need to put the countries in the driver's seat. But the countries, most of them, didn't have anything to drive. So we gave them something to drive in the form of an aid management tool. And that tool is today in 25 countries. And in 10 of these countries, this tool is public, so that citizens can find out where does the money come from, where does it go, and to the extent possible, we're trying again to put this on maps so that it is possible for people to really know, next to my village, who is doing what, can I understand, can I keep people accountable? And that platform was itself a result of South-South cooperation in the sense that we developed it with strong participation and partnership with Ethiopia and India. And today, in line with the global partnership effort on domestic resource mobilization, we are trying to mesh this platform on aid with the platform of budget management and debt management so that the decision makers at all levels and the citizens and all the stakeholders of development can have access to a comprehensive view of what is being done. And we bring all our partner countries, 25 of them, together each year so that they can exchange information, learn from each other, and we're about to hold the 7th annual workshop on South-South cooperation in Nepal in 2 weeks. Now, Busan put a very strong effort on South-South cooperation, and one of our partner countries, Honduras, has asked us to really build a specific module for South-South cooperation. So together with them, we have added to our aid management platform a module that tries to respond to the specificity of South-South cooperation, in a sense that it is different from North-South cooperation. It is not uniquely based on the transfer of financial resources, but experience, technical assistance. So we are trying to do this in partnership with SEGIB, and I believe that there's going to be an exchange between Honduras and Haiti to transfer this module on South-South cooperation to a different place. Some of the challenges of tracking South-South cooperation rapidly, and I'll finish with this, there is no easy way to record this information because it takes forms that are not easily trackable. Most of it is in technical assistance, exchange of information, the kind of events that my colleague just presented. So how do you do this? So there are a lot of definitional issues that needs to be solved in order for this cooperation to be more easily tracked, and I think it needs to be done in relations with IATI. How do we take account of foreign direct investment, which is a very big part of South-South cooperation right now, especially if we think of China and India? How do we deal with remittances? And how do we make sure that we add the location data so that people can have a very well-informed sense of where does this South-South cooperation take place and how can I monitor it? So these are some questions on which we are working, and we would welcome the partnership with the UN Office of South-South Cooperation to do this. Let me stop here, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. My colleagues will distribute a little leaflet at the end telling you where to go to find all of this information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean-Louis. Thank you for also especially highlighting this. I missed that part. I think now I actually learn more the way how the Global Development Gateway is actually doing. It is actually informing policymakers and leadership in the private, leadership in the civil society, leadership at the local, and all participant practitioners information, knowledge, so that to get the right business done at the very beginning, that is to make the well-informed decision. And I think decision-making need information. So I think the Development Gateway is truly playing a very important role in informing decision-making with evidence. knowledge. And thank you so very much. And I'm sure that our post-2015 development agenda needs that kind of driver and providers of service to all the practitioners. Thank you so very much. Now I am very honored to invite a very elegant lady, Dorothy Davis, who is not only a partner of the UN office, but who is a chairman of the chairperson of the International Board of Directors of the Sirleaf Market Women's Fund, and that is probably the only unique women organization, market organization in the world. And Dorothy, can you share with us? And also, this market women organization is right now in the center of fighting Ebola in Liberia. And so, Dorothy, you ready?
Yes, thank you for such a wonderful introduction. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to talk to you about the Sirleaf Market Women's Fund, but it's not just the organization, it's the women that we represent, the market women of Liberia. And through the women of Liberia, the market women of Liberia, the market women across the continent. But at this particular juncture, obviously we're focused on Ebola. Let me start by first giving you just a brief history about how we came about. After the Civil War, a group of international women approached President Sirleaf asking her how we could help her. Obviously the national budget was very low, and we just wanted to find a way to help. She said to help the market women of Liberia because they had been instrumental in feeding the country across enemy lines throughout the 14-year war. And also they had contributed substantially to bringing peace and security to the country. So we thought the best way we could help them is by rebuilding, renovating and building markets for them so they could come out of the elements, the sun and the rain, and have a safe place to work. We also wanted to provide them with financial training as well as literacy training so they could upgrade their skills and perhaps move to another level. So that's what we've been doing for the past, since 2007. We have a board in Liberia and we have a board here. That's what we were doing up till August, when the president announced a national emergency. On a dime, we had to become not only an economic development focused organization, we had to add the Ebola equation to it, and how could we help market women who were basically illiterate, help them understand how to protect themselves, their families, and their communities. We immediately realized that out of the 26 markets that we had built or renovated in 10 counties in Liberia, 24 of them were in the quarantined areas. And we didn't have access to them because we were restricted in movement and so forth on ground. So it has been a very difficult time to try to figure out how to help the market women and how to engage the market women. So what we've decided is that we're building on the strength, the resilience of the market women when the war was going on. And what we're trying to do is create systems now that can lead into post-Ebola. We were hit with not only a health issue, we were simultaneously hit with a livelihood issue. When the borders were closed, the market women lost 50% of their livelihood. And then when their homes or their communities and their markets were quarantined, they lost even more. And then when the people could not go to restaurants and so forth, they lost even more. So their livelihoods were impacted severely at the same time as the health issue. We also are realizing there's going to be a food shortage, and that is in the making. It won't manifest itself. It's starting to manifest itself now. So the key here is that it's clear from our perspective that the way development has been working or been operating is not working and has not been working. To us, it needs to have a more holistic approach, because almost as devastating as Ebola itself is the illiteracy where you can't, to the point where you can't help each other. These women we represent, the 26 markets represent 30,000 marketeers. Each of those women have 6 to 8 members in their families. They are mostly female heads of households because of the war. 75% of the people that are affected by Ebola are women, because they are the caregivers, and they are also the ones doing the laundry in terms of the Ebola treatment centers and so forth and so on. So it's a very difficult and very complex situation. I think in terms of going forward, in some ways, Ebola, I look for silver linings, and as horrible as Ebola is, I think it's promoting cross-sector partnerships. I see agencies that never really worked together forced to work together now and find commonality, and I think that's the way to go forward. I see people focus more on utilizing local content in the creation of strategies. One of the things that we want to do, and we're looking for partners for this, is we decided that in our markets we could have a pilot project where we would build or create what we call mini first aid centers in 4 markets outside of Monrovia and 4 inside Monrovia, where we could provide the first layer of care for market women so that they can then be referred to something higher up in terms of the scale of health systems. We also want to have a classroom in these markets where we can teach, or add health literacy to the program. We didn't have that before. We have literacy training and we have financial training. Most of that has to do with our own finances. The other thing is that we're looking to, most market women have cell phones, and we are using the cell phones to get messaging out to them, to have them involved in the in radio messaging and TV messaging, so it's targeted to them. So we are really looking for help from all parts of the world, of societies. We're looking for private sector. We've been talking to private sector. We've been talking to foundations. We're looking to the UN to help. UN Women has been involved in that. They gave us $3 million to build markets. This has nothing to do with the Ebola situation, but we have alliances with UN systems. UNDP gave us money to do a study tour to Malawi and work with the market women there and the market women in Ghana. We have gone and been in forums, policy forums, where the market women for the first time were asked what their opinions were, and that was being incorporated into the dialogue. So I'm going to end with this and say that we urgently need your help, and we are willing to create any kind of partnership to make this happen. We know we can't do it alone, but we do have the leadership behind us. President Sirleaf is a proponent of ours. We are not her fund, so we clear that up. We are definitely independent and raising funds our own, but wherever she can help in terms of bringing visibility to our organization, she does. Thanks.
Thank you, Dorothy, for sharing with us a very innovative organization or structure which was championed earlier by Sirleaf Johnson, the president, and now it becomes the model of self-help structure across Africa, because there are many African countries, and I wanted to see more Asian countries learning from this market women self-service structure. Currently, it serves 180,000 individuals because 30,000 women marketeer each has around six members in each. So what it really does is that the government provides the enabling policy environment for women to form themselves, and the local government provides the shelter as the marketplace. Okay, very simple. We have the gala dinner the other day in the tent, but they are not as, I mean, the market women's tent are not as luxurious as that, but they have those kind of shelters for the market women to sell, to buy, to connect. But beyond that, the market women places, hubs or huts are now becoming the training centers, or even on subjects like inclusive finance, health issues, sending out the early warning, the first instance when they spot Ebola. And so those are the kind of innovative, grassroots-based, women-led kind of partnerships that are actually not only generating income for the women, but the families, the kids are not able to go to schools. So now I hear your appeal, and the Market Women Network is becoming one frontier spot to report the Ebola incident. And so we wanted to also respond to you. The UN office is fully behind, and we're supporting the initiative, and then please share with us the basic appeal that you are making. Make sure that after this Expo that the international community hears about it, and we would find innovative mechanisms to make this new partnership work. Thank you so very much. And now I think we have heard from our civil society NGO, the success partnerships that they have formed, the concrete results that they have achieved, and I just wanted to open up a little bit if you have any question at this point in time to the panelists. Let me see your hands. I think we're doing very well. Thank you, the panelists, and we would, at the end, I think, try to engage a little bit more. Now, I think I would like to move to the last section. The third is not really the last section. Try to see how our private sector is not only looking at the business propositions in partnering with the government, with the civil society, with the citizen, but also look at the social proposition, environmental proposition as they deliver services. And I think this part of the, I call it the attributes of a partnership and from the private sector is so key. We keep talking at the UN about the role of the private sector, but we only limit it to their corporate social responsibility. We've never talked about how we, the UN, the public sector, can actually create a triple win scenario where the CEO and their stakeholders or shareholders can also be convinced that a social responsibility is also a business proposition. And so let me invite our first, my friend, actually, the first of the next round, Jim Donovan. I think you heard him, you saw him already a few times. Let's hear James to explain to you the ADEX big data revolution for development story. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Excellencies, ladies, gentlemen, first of all, thank you very much for having ADEC and myself here. Very proud to be part of the Global South-South development. Being a former banker, you're going to have to bear with me because I need slides to talk. So, some of you may have already heard our story, but we were proudly founded in the Philippines 19 years ago. I guess 19 years young. And we started providing solutions for multinationals. And through that journey, we started providing more and more solutions to primarily sustainability, healthcare, and education. ADEC Innovations, as we evolved to be, really found ourselves in that environmental, social, governance space, coming at it from a private perspective. And I guess I'm here as a case study to show business for good, where some of the large brands are using solutions. So that's the goal of this presentation, is really to show a different perspective from the business side. So everybody this week has talked about all the challenges, and there are quite a few, and they're large and really need all of the brain power and capabilities that the UN and South-South is bringing together to this. The challenge is really the tangible opportunities. From a business perspective, they are a bit tough to get our hands around how to bring value. And where we found as a company where a niche, or what we feel is this inflection point in the marketplace, is how can we redefine ESG? Instead of it being a cost, how do we bring value? Now, everyone can talk about, yes, there's a social contract, there's business, all of this good stuff, but how do you bring that into tangible opportunities? This is the reality of how most businesses look at all of these different aspects. They come across as very clear, straight lines in presentations, but the reality is the underlying connections get very complicated when trying to actually make payroll, while trying to provide health care for your employees, while trying to make sure your deliveries go out on time. When monsoons come in and you can't make the freight shipments, all of a sudden climate change really matters. When scarcity of resources impact your business and you can't find a way to either locate them or deliver, you can't make payroll. People can't feed their families, can't send their kids to school. So it's much more of a complicated from a corporation's perspective. Where do we come in? And I promise not to be an infomercial. We saw the opportunity to connect the dots. As a solution provider, to give you an idea, we have just over 5,500 people now operating in 12 countries. We produce about 30 million transactions a month on behalf of our customers. So what does that mean? We're in the business of connecting dots. So by taking that capability and focusing it and bridging the gap with what South-South is looking to do and private sector, we feel that this is a real opportunity to sort of say that we're actually not at different goals. We're not on the other side of the team. We are together. It's just we often speak in different languages. We live in a day with unprecedented data. Next to me, I think some of the tools that have been presented is phenomenal, and the capabilities are just outstanding of all the opportunities that the data present. The challenge is that it comes down to still collaboration. How do we work together? Even this Expo is really taking a leading step of connecting private sector with NGOs and civil society to say that we're all in this together. There is a part for all of us to play in this solution. So collaboration, it's how we built our business. Sorry, I'm hitting my presentation. I get excited up here. This is more about everyone has a role to play. From a humble company of 2 people to 5,000, starting in the Philippines, we have an impactful relationship with our clients. Now you're going to say, let's talk about what we really do. We provide solutions for government entities, NGOs, and supply chain to help connect the data. We provide visibility to mills, for helping brands provide ethical trading information, all the way through to compliance. So we do this across several thousand suppliers across Asia, Eastern Africa, and Eastern Europe. Something more interesting that we're just sort of embarking upon is helping supply chain get some of the hazardous chemicals out of their supply chains. I'm sorry, the brands to get those out of their supply chains. Very, very difficult when you start thinking about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers in these countries. Most brands have visibility on their tier 1 and maybe tier 2. None of them have visibility on tier 3 and 4 suppliers. So what does that mean? Some of these chemicals, some of these prohibited materials get put into the supply chain and no way to control that. So we actually provide a system for some of the largest brands in the world that helps bring visibility to that and starts to push down the governance to help them make better decisions. So with that, that's some of the zero hazardous waste. I promise to be short and to the point. Coming from the private sector, our goal is really to connect the dots, and that we have to show value every day with our customers. And we really believe that this is an opportunity for us to give a voice in connection with what the UN, what South-South development is doing, and civil society. So with that, I really appreciate the opportunity to present what we're doing, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. We need data. Not only policymakers need data, and I think citizens also need data, and to understand how decisions are arrived or made by policymakers. I think the big data is going to help us also make South-North cooperation more transparent, more informed, and then South-North initiatives can then be more widely supported, and partners can also know what we are doing. So I think I really would like to see that our directors, general offices get more support from you, especially the information technology that can actually get them connected much easier to each other. We had about 30, 50 directors general for development cooperation from all the continents yesterday, and I hope if they had heard you, they would probably say, yes, we need to be connected and we need to have the information. And this also applies to the same call for our development gateway. I think the DGs would be much empowered if they get really to use and connected to the development gateway. And I think this is what my office is committed to doing with you, get as many as the policymakers, the foundations that in the Global South to use these mechanisms, instruments. And this is what also partnership is all about. Now I'm very honored to invite our sister Ting Shi, the CEO and founder of Click Medics. And just by hearing the name of the company, and I really want you to listen very carefully, because if the southern countries, especially the communities in the remote areas, they can actually get the medical information by a click, just by a click. And she's very also proudly supporting the Secretary General's Every Child, Every Woman Global Initiative. So thank you. Tim, can you share with us your story?
Thank you, Chairman, for the introduction. And I do have some visuals as well to just bring some of the stories life to you. So Click Medics was founded out of MIT Media Lab as a response to a simply stated challenge, which was how to create a business that will impact over 1 billion people. And we, as MITers, of course, picked one of the hardest things to do, which was healthcare. And the context of our problem are the South-South regions where healthcare is not accessible, the people are poor and they're not affordable, and worse yet, the biggest problem is that there's simply not enough doctors in a lot of these regions. So what to do? Well, there are more phones than people in the world today. So our idea back in 2007 was to use mobile phones to deliver healthcare. Sounded crazy at the time, but with the various partners we work with, such as Harvard Medical School, UPenn Medical School, who are providing the medical expertise, others such as Ministry of Botswana, who are coming to us and saying, we have 40% of people with AIDS and we have no doctors. How can technologies help us? Places like Mexico have huge issues with obesity and diabetes and end-stage diseases. What can we do with digital technology? And from other partners, such as the mobile networks providing phones and data connectivity, we started to build out what was thought as impossible, which is using mobile phones to deliver healthcare. We do this in 15 countries on a variety of diseases, including infectious diseases, HIV, AIDS, as well as chronic diseases, such as diabetes, heart disease, including cancer, and others such as Alzheimer's disease. We work on a very flexible payment model within whatever the country's payment model should be, adjusting it to market rate so that all the patients can actually afford it, at the same time ensuring that the ecosystem also gains profit from device sales, medication sales, as well as lowering the cost for the public healthcare system. Here's one story of what we do in India with Medtronic as the sponsor. This is Aisha. She is 17 years old. She barely had any education, can barely read, and has no money to go to college. She's hired as a health worker using our software, which prompts her to screen for ear infection. She uses a Medtronic device, which takes a picture of inside the ear, and she goes through a month-long training to actually be able to provide a diagnosis on what she's seeing in terms of the ear infection. After about 2 months, her rate in terms of her diagnosis is about 90% as accurate as that of a ear, nose, throat surgeon. And we're training more and more health workers like her. In the past year, with 9 of them, we've screened 50,000 patients and treated them of ear infection. Otherwise, they may lose their hearing altogether. We'll be increasing that by 300 times. That means 15 million people in India would be screened for ear infections. And this is how it works. Very, very easy. What we do as a technology company is we protocolize and show on a simple screen prompt so that someone who is not as educated can just choose from a list of symptoms and capture all the information that a doctor would need for a remote diagnosis. And we do this through various phases to build in-country capacity. So first we do is enable the doctor to serve more patients by seeing data that comes through mobile phones, transmitted through mobile phones. Second, by connecting doctors along with health workers in the communities and ultimately to patients so that they can see and treat them remotely through the eyes and hands of the community health providers. And third, by task shifting so that the community health workers can do more and more, almost mimicking that of a doctor, but the knowledge is coming remotely from where the doctors are. And our system collects information in a way that the doctor needs in order to provide treatment, whether it be a cancer, whether it be cardiology, whether it be HIV/AIDS, collecting symptoms as well as connecting them with various devices and diagnostics tools, and then allowing the nurse or community health worker to easily use a device they're used to. And that allows a doctor to sit behind a computer and see about 10 times more patients. In some cases, it's 200 patients per hour for being able to provide diagnosis because they're given that data. And then the community health providers provides treatment, and because they're also learning during this process, they can engage a wider community, identifying more patients that have various diseases that need to be screened as well as treated. And that allows us to create essentially a virtual network of medical specialists from everywhere. It's a virtual hub. They're accessible by everyone everywhere, and distributing that through various pockets of community hospitals, clinics, health workers, all the way down to patients themselves. And we do this by allocating devices as well as tablets in various community centers. This is a pharmacy in Chile. They have 500 stores. All of that store becomes a way to screen, diagnose, and treat for diseases, particularly in chronic diseases. If we look at chronic diseases, it's about the whole person. Many healthcare initiatives look at one portion, but it's really about the brain, the heart, the eyes, the liver, the kidney. It's everything. It's a whole person. So why are we funding different initiatives by a part of the body? So what we do a bit differently is we work with various doctors and created what's called a healthcare scorecard, very much like in any business terms. Red means bad, green means good. And we do this in various interventions so that patients would understand, just by color coding, whether they're literate or not, how well they're doing in terms of their entire health and where they actually need help to get better. And we show patients a treatment plan that the next time they come back for a follow-up, whether it's AIDS, heart disease, or chronic problems such as diabetes, that they see their health metrics get better. Either their glucose gets better, their blood pressure gets better. They can see a visible result and therefore reinforces change. And this can all be done within communities with a virtual network of specialists. And this is how we are task shifting gradually by putting the screening kiosks just in the form of tablets or phones in community areas, in pharmacies, in patients' homes, and in the future, grocery stores and gas stations, wherever the patients actually live, where they spend most of their time, stratifying them in a structured way, such as the scorecard you see, expanding it into different body parts for different diseases, and then providing interventions, sending them to the doctors who can treat those areas, sending them to community case management programs for specific diseases, maybe it's AIDS, maybe it's cardiovascular disease, and then also into preventative programs so that patients are now not just by being reactive about their diseases, but becoming proactive in terms of their health care. And this is a very fast screen in terms of tracking the information, having this information provided to both the doctors, the community health providers, and the patients themselves, and using that data back as teaching material. We do this with Aisha and her cohort of health workers. We take the data from ear infections and we show it back to the new cohort of the 3,000 new health workers we're training, showing them what does the ear infection at higher stage look like and what are the treatments that needs to be done. So all of the data we collect goes back into e-learning and in-person hybrid learning content. And only by doing this overall and through partnerships can we truly provide quality healthcare that's affordable and accessible by all more than billions of people in the world. Thank you.
That's amazing, and thank you, Ms. Tin. I think the SG would be very, very proud of what you are doing, because this is really reaching the communities that normally do not have the services and the providers. I now see even a less educated little girl can become also a medical provider. Absolutely. I mean, this is amazing. So I think please keep clicking. And I want everybody to keep clicking, because the name is Click Medics. And I also wanted Dorothy, please start clicking. Okay, I want this connection, because the Sirleaf Johnson, Sirleaf market woman, the market women in Africa need this kind of service. And this is about partnership. This is not about just talking. I think the partnership, I want the partnership in the making here, happening. All right, I want you to sit down, talk about it, and do something about it. And next Expo, I want to see some results. Okay, now I'm really very proud to invite another sister of ours, Her Excellency Helen Hai. She is the UNIDO Goodwill Ambassador, but also CEO. And you heard so much about Made in China, Made in China, Made in China. And she's going to tell you Made in Africa, an initiative that is really going to impact. It's a PPP model that gets the Africa into the mainstream of markets through PPP. And please listen carefully. Yes, sister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm afraid I don't have a fancy presentation with me, so you just have to bear with me for the next 5 minutes. Let me start with my real story. A Chinese story happened in Africa. I came to Ethiopia in October 2011, and it took me 3 months from decide to investment to actual production. And in the following 6 months, I doubled the export revenue for Ethiopia in the shoe sector. And by month 12, I hired 2,000 local workers. And by month 24, I hired 4,000 local workers. Private sector did not come to Africa to do aid. They come to Africa to do business. But through business, they achieve the development goals. And today, I would like to share with you 4 things behind my story. Number 1, Ethiopia ranked 125 according to World Bank doing business. I did not pick Ethiopia. It was Ethiopia who picked me. The story started March 2011 when the late Prime Minister Meles had a meeting with Justin Ifulin, the chief economist of the World Bank, and he asked Justin's advice on poverty reduction and economic transformation. Justin told him 3 things. Number 1, job creation and export generation, it is the key. Secondly, the fundamental secret of the Asia Four Tigers in the 1960s and China in the 1980s is because they grasped the window of opportunity during industrial relocation and created light manufacturing sector, which create millions of jobs and enable them for economic transformation. And the last thing, Justin, as a remedy, he gave it to the late Prime Minister is he need to create a quick success story which will bring inspiration, confidence, and experience to the African continent, that in this round of the window of opportunity, Africa can do the same. And that's actually how the story started, because the Prime Minister went to China and picked us, and that's how we came to Ethiopia. So the first thing I would like to share with you, it was leadership and vision who brought us into Africa. Secondly, I would like to share with you, if anybody telling you doing business is very easy in Africa, that must be a lie. I can tell you an example. When I meet the Prime Minister and the Minister, they all told me, you are doing 100% export, all your raw material are supposed to be tax-free. But it was not the Prime Minister or Minister sitting at the port clearing my goods. It is somebody paid probably $50 per month clearing my goods, and you ask that person to make a decision he never made before. That's not easy. So what I had experienced, I have the brush to brush the shoes. They say this is a brush to brush human teeth. It needs to be taxed. I have a machine to make a hole on the shoe. They say this is illegal, it's weapon. It need to be, you cannot get it cleared because it's not legal. So what I have to do, I have to meet the Minister of Tax and get his organization chart. Understood he has 6 deputy director generals, and I went to meet each of them and also get the telephone numbers of the next 2-layer manager below each of them. And then I gathered the 20 people into a meeting room, explaining to them who am I, why I came to Ethiopia, what I've done, what am I going to do, and the problem I encountered, and taking 20 of them to the production line, seeing from the beginning to the end, and after it became easy. So the thing I would like to share with you, what actually sustained us in Africa, and I would like to say sustainable commitment from the government is very important. Because when I had that problem, I picked up my phone, I called the Minister of Industrial at 10 o'clock in the evening, and he met me 7 o'clock in his office. And then for investor, I want to say, if a minister, African minister, can come to the office earlier than the cleaner, that means a lot to me. And I think that means a lot to a lot of investors, even though you know the road is not easy. But you have a government as a partner which is next to you. And another thing which also touched my heart is, there was one time actually I went a field trip with the minister. We went to see some very poor children in the school, so we wrote 100,000 check to the government. We said, please use this for your poverty reduction, buy some food for the children. And then the minister actually immediately returned the check back to me, and they said to me, Helen, I don't want fish from you. I want you to come to my country to teach us how to catch the fish. Please use this check to buy machines and teach us, train our workers, and this is what we want from you. And this is something actually I remember, and this is why we work hard together with the government. And then the third thing I would like to share with you is example effect. Before I came to Ethiopia, Ethiopia have an industrial zone called Eastern Industrial Zone. They struggled for 5 years to attract any exporters to becoming a resident to do export. But the 2 years down the line after my success, Ethiopia government built its first government-owned industrial zone. I was helping the government to attract investment promotion. With less than 3 months, without any advertisement, all the 22 factory units, they all leased it out to international exporters from India, Bangladesh, Taiwan, China, all of them. So you can imagine by the next year, you will suddenly see 20,000 jobs. And this is why, because success brings success. And last thing, I want to talk about entrepreneurship. I spent 15 years in Europe being trained and worked as a senior executive in global organization. But if I compare the entrepreneurship of Western and China, I would say, if you see a tiger in front of you, the Western entrepreneurship, they probably tell you, you get your laptop and you do all the analysis to study the characteristic of the tiger. But then the Chinese entrepreneurship is, if you see a tiger in front of you, you jump on top of the tiger and you ride it. And that's how you get things done. I'm a strong believer of strong leadership, sustainable commitment, and successful examples. And I believe that is going to bring developing countries from vision to action, from dream to reality. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Helen. I think we need some exercise to jump on the tiger and run. And this is really a very inspirational story. And I think you are the last speaker here on the list. But I think that wraps up all what we have been saying. What are we talking about? What partnership is for? What leadership is for? Is to see that within a 6-month period, 20,000 jobs, 60,000 jobs created in Ethiopia. And that's something that we want to see. A partnership must deliver. And somebody may say, I think, Helen, you are absolutely right, because somebody may say, oh, business is business, but this is about creating jobs. And this is all the UN is all about. UN is all about helping people to create jobs, because without jobs, it's about 40–50% of today's youth are out of job in most of the places. And so I think, thank you, Helen. It's inspirational, and I know you're Justin Ling well, and I think he's really given you such good advice. And UNIDO must be also very proud you to be the Goodwill Ambassador. We also want you to be our Goodwill Ambassador. And I think it is beyond goodwill. It is actually the kind of story that we want to spread. And we want to bring as many entrepreneurs like yourself as possible to Africa, to Asia, to Latin America, to CIS regions in this new form of partnership. And so I think we more or less have now finished the different stories. And I just want to say one thing that I think the audience may start to wonder. This is the biggest panel of this whole Expo. And you can see we have about 13 panelists. And the discussion didn't appear well organized by me. But probably by now, you have a sense. That is, we are not talking about partnership, how partnership should be, how partnership is important, who should be the partnership. Each of the panelists has given you a concrete model of partnership. At work. So I just want the audience to think very carefully each of the cases that you heard from this podium, and to see that whether these 13 different partnerships, different actors that actually made the partnership work, delivered results, can be part of the solutions or the means that we as development practitioners should really use and learn as we prepare to implement the post-2015 development agenda. And that's really, this whole session is all about. And of course, the Secretariat will put all the cases together and share globally for those who cannot attend the session. But before we wrap up, I want to have some kind of last flavor of this partnership to show that how the UN office intends to facilitate you and moving this new partnership arrangement forward. And so I would like to probably invite, as the panelists stay keeps in their seats, can we hear something about the SS Gate? I don't think we would have a lot of time. How many minutes we have? Yeah, okay. This is the architecture of the UN Office for South Cooperation, which is being used by all the UN organizations and all the national governments for listing technologies, matching technologies with suppliers and seekers of technologies, and with financing. And we and just want you to hear about it. Yes, Chris.
Thank you. Thanks for all the panelists' views and presentations. As the moderator has indicated, that this forum is about partnerships. And as he's already introduced, I wanted an opportunity to share a little bit about what the UN Office for South-South Cooperation has done to build the mechanisms to be able to identify these partnerships and to consolidate them in strategic ways. And specifically, I'll be talking about the South-South Global Assets and Technology Exchange, which we call SS Gate. And I apologize in advance if this is a bit repetitive. I did give a presentation in yesterday's Director General's forum, but I wanted to just highlight the ways in which, in this presentation, I wanted to highlight the ways in which this platform brings together different partners. So what is SS Gate? SS Gate was launched in 2008 with support from UNDP and member states, in particular the government of China. In its very basic terms, it's a global matchmaking platform that seeks to identify the needs. What are the technology needs in developing countries? And then it works to identify the providers of that technology, and then it acts as a matchmaking tool. Match is the operative word here. And again, I think there are many platforms, including Match.com, which is a dating platform that matches men and women. Well, this is a Match.com for companies working in developing countries. It focuses on technology solutions, but since its origin, it started to evolve to include other assets, other services to promote these exchanges. Three insights animate the SS Gate platform, which is designed to address a particular global need. One is the insight that solutions are abundantly available in the South, and I think this Expo and all the previous Expos has really hammered this point home, that solutions do exist in the South, but what they need, perhaps, are mechanisms to be able to identify them, to source them, and to scale them up. Two, this platform operates based on South-South principles, mutual benefit, mutual accountability. And three, it takes a market-driven approach of basic supply and demand principles, which reduces the over-reliance on donor funding. how does it actually work in practice? It operates on two tracks. There is an online platform, which is maintained by staff in Shanghai. And this online platform, all it does is act as an electronic clearinghouse for all of the supply, all of the technology that is available to us, all the solutions that we find in the South, and it matches it with expressed demand and need. That's the online component, but it also operates on the ground. And these are country centers that have been established on the ground. Since 2008, we've established 50 country centers in 40 countries. Now, these country centers are not organizations that we launch independently. These are actually existing infrastructure at the country level that SSC then partners with, and in agreement and in partnership, they're the ones that act as an agent for SSC. So they're the ones that are sourcing the projects and listing it onto the platform. Since 2008, we've decentralized a bit from Shanghai to take a strong regional approach. And this is driven by the insight that a lot of the South-South investment, a lot of South-South flows of trade happens within a region. So in particular, we have a strong regional presence in East Africa. We leveraged the regional Expo in Doha this past year to build our presence in the Arab states and Middle East. And leveraging this opportunity, and also through a global health exchange, which I'll get to in a little bit, we're looking to branch out into the Latin America and Caribbean regions. We've also partnered with the OHRLS to give particular attention to LDCs, that's least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and the SIDS. Just quickly, the numbers that I'll preview. Since 2009, the system has been able to list over 6,000 projects, match together just under 2,000 projects, and has actually witnessed a successful transaction of 857. Guided by the Secretary General's Policy Directive for South-South Cooperation, the system works in three main development areas, which is food security, which focuses on agro-technologies, climate change, clean energy, and global health. I think perhaps a good case example will show how these partnerships are aligned. In last year's Expo in Nairobi, hosted by UNEP, there was an agreement signed between a Tanzanian company and a Kenyan investment firm called Viability Africa. This was a $21 million investment that was channeled through Viability Africa to build an 8-megawatt hydropower plant in the Kilimanjaro region of Tanzania. The project over its lifespan is projected to create over 500 permanent and temporary jobs. So this is a good example, and it speaks to the themes that we talked about in this session of the alignment of partners. And the platform is designed to be flexible in the sense to be able to engage the private sector, civil society, government, and anybody who would seek to have successful projects. So in this particular case, SSC's institutional partner was a civil society organization called CTI PFAN. They work to source private financing for clean and renewable energy projects. So we opened up our project pipeline to them, and they identified this particular project in Tanzania. They were able to partner with us, or introduce us to Viability Africa, which then provided the critical financing for this. And late in the late stages of the game, or of the deal, SSC was able to source the hardware, the actual technology, from a Chinese enterprise. We've learned, and I'll conclude with this, we've learned a lot since 2009, and the project has evolved from its origins. Again, to reiterate, and this is a key point, that Southern solutions are available, and YP will be very happy to know that our team has already been in contact with Ms. Shi and ClickMedics to cooperate, or possibly cooperate, on our global health track. So it's really our goal to leverage these opportunities, to find the innovations, to find the real great work that's being done, and then to use this mechanism to be able to scale up and to hopefully find partners for you. So we're looking forward to working with you. Partnerships are absolutely key to unlocking these solutions. I would venture to say that without partnerships, this project would not work. It's based on the strength of the partnerships that we're able to source projects. It's based on the strength of the partnerships that we're able to source financing where possible or other services. And what we've learned is project listing and matching is not enough. There are many platforms out there that would seek to match entities and partners together, but it needs sustained partnership. It needs sustained services to be able to make that project work. So that's enough from me. I'm excited to also invite Tony, which is actually a country center in Uganda, to share some country-level experiences. Thank you very much.
Yes, Tony. Well, sorry, I think let me introduce Tony. Tony is the Information Technology Officer from Uganda National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They are actually leading one of the platforms for the LDC of the SS Gate system. Tony.
Thank you, Chair, for that introduction. All protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure that I stand before you just to share our experience and outcomes of the SS Gate platform. My presentation has basically two sections. One is about the country center and our partnership with SS Gate. The Chamber of Commerce is basically the oldest and nationwide umbrella body of the private sector in Uganda, and we have a membership. We have a membership over 10,000 members across all sectors. More of that you can read from our website. Our partnership with SS Gate has resulted in a number of tangible benefits, among which are trade promotion, trade promotion of the Uganda SME products on the global market. We utilize the trade fair business forums organized by SS Gate to bring Ugandan SMEs to exhibit and showcase their products and technology to the global audience. The live example is this picture, which is taken from one of the exhibitions organized by SS Gate. Over 30 Ugandan companies expressed interest and exhibited in the trade fair. We utilize this platform the platform for business linkages, synergies, and joint ventures of the Ugandan SMEs with their counterparts across the globe. The live example is the $10 million between the Biogreen company in Uganda and the Songhai Center in Benin. This picture shows the signing of the MOU between the Ugandan company and the Songhai Center in Benin. This project, the signing was witnessed by the government of Uganda. This is our minister from Ministry of Finance. And this shows how SS Gate constructs the booth for SMEs to do a B2B meetings. So in conclusion, this partnership is growing and productive, and we shall always utilize the platform to interest more Ugandan companies to explore the benefits of this program. Chair, also allow me to showcase the hidden benefits of SS Gate through a practical puzzle of the bank accountant. Ladies and gentlemen, I need your more attention here. Now, one day, a customer needs $700 million from his account. The accountant did not have any single money in her drawer. So what she decided is to borrow 50 million US dollars and 50 million US dollars from another. So now he has 100 millions US dollars. So he gets the 70, he gets the 97 the customer wants and gives and remains with 3 million US dollars. Now, she gives 1 million back to this where she borrowed, and she gives another back too. So she has 1 million US dollars. She collects through cash deposits. She collects 49 millions and pays back to the first accountant. So that means 49 plus 1 equals to 50. So she has already cleared that debt. She collects another 49, then she gives back. So 49 plus, okay, thank you. 49 plus 1, meaning she has already cleared the debt. Now, time comes to balance her books. The 49 plus 49 equals to 98 million US dollars. Plus the 2 she gave out equals to 100. But she still has this 100 million US dollars. Where is that from? Chair, unless if you allow me to get some answers, maybe from the floor. Any? Okay. Basically, whatever answers you may have, it's all about having the right partner, leadership, and innovation to record your performance and accountability. This task is to unfold the potential of the SSC to achieve the targets set forth in post-2015 Sustainable Development Agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. I think the real story could be more compelling, but probably due to time, a limited time space that you have to condense. Anyway, let me probably just use 1 minute of the time to highlight what this SSC is all about. I think you heard so much about it. I wanted to put it so simply. The UN has never had something like a transaction mechanism like Wall Street. The UN has meetings, conferences, discussions, seminars, case studies, and ODA on the one hand, and programmers to use the resources. But the UN has never enabled the global public a place where they can make a decision, should I invest or not? Instead of saying, aid agency give you the $10 million and you plan and you spend it. So we are putting the whole development process upside down. Instead of starting from $1 from a donor first, and then start the programming process, and to see who wants the money, who can we help, we started to put in place asking the communities, individuals, countries to tell those who want to help what is it that they want, and what is it that they have to offer. So we are putting the demand side and supply side in an open space. So this system is about a technology innovator is able to use the system to list the technologies and tell the terms and conditions to the seekers what it is, how it may cost, what it will be the benefit, social, environmental, economic, and how the kind of transfer technology process they would like to engage. The partner that is looking for the technology can come into the system and search for 50 similar technologies from 50 different countries, but zero in to match the best one that they want as a partner. And the system will generate the best match for you, but the decision is still yours. The third job is to source the financing. The technology owner, the technology seeker may not have enough resources to finance. Here, the platform offers the financial institutions to come in to pick the best match they wanted to invest. And the last function is to let everybody be held mutually accountable for their achievements. So this is really what this system is all about. What we are trying to do now is that we want to create as a clearinghouse so that the transactions also have a guarantee scheme. So currently it has now more than 40 workstations. We call it Development NASDAQ in 40 different countries, serving the Chambers of Commerce, the SMEs, and to get to together deliver development. So I think that's what really this whole about. And I wanted everybody to use the SS Gate. Now, I think we have probably exhausted all the times we have. And what I wanted to say is that I think I'm very grateful to this panel who now have given us a very clear roadmap to developing a new global partnership strategy and implementing our South-South program across the UN system. And in designing our new strategic partnership, I am now basically learning from this panel that we have to make sure that these 8 attributes must be in the new form of partnership. One is to make sure that there is a strong ownership of government and the community of a particular development program. Second is strong leadership at all levels, public, private, civil society, and citizen leadership. 3, we need innovative forms of partnership, and we need mechanisms and tools to do that. And then the 4th is that any such partnership without this inclusiveness is not going to sustain. So inclusiveness is very, very important for that. And the mutual accountability is very important for the new partnership for us to move things forward. And as Helen said, success brings success. If the partnership is not successful, I don't think we even bother to build any partnership. But also, if the partnership is not delivering results on the ground, we don't even think there is need for partnership. So I think with these kind of, quick words, I would close the panel discussion. And can I invite everybody to give the panelists a warm round of thank you, applause. Thank you.
We would now like to present some plaques to our distinguished panelists. And I would ask that my director, Mr. Zhu, come down to the floor here, and he'll be assisted by some of our staff who will lure this over there who will attend. And then I will call one of you at a time. So just we'll call each one of you at a time as soon as we're ready. Okay. His Excellency, Mr. Shamsuddin. Karibu. Son. Just come down here. So with the sound, whatever. Mr. Julio Andrade. Maybe we could come this way and go back around the pushing part. Julio, passe s'il vous plaît, passe par là. Monsieur Henri Domal. Dr. Adlan. Mr. Bott. Sorry. You're next. Yeah. No, she's next, according to my list. Madame Dorothy Davis. Now, Mr. James Donovan. Ms. Tingti.
This one is not.
Okay, nice. Ms. Helen Hai. Thank you, everyone, for the session. I think we've exhausted my list. No word for no plaque for you or me. No. We have to. Thank you very much. We'll take a small break now. Are we going to take a break before the final ceremony? No break. Everybody, please stay seated. Now we're going to enter the final closing ceremony, and I would like to invite. Yes, I would like to ask you to please remain in your seats at this time as the members of the high table come to their seats on the dais. So, I invite you all to